Hi, Terry.
Hi, Rohana.
So, what are we talking about today?
Let me go on my chest here and see what we can pick out.
Your
I
treasure
got
chest?
my treasure chest of topics.
Pirate's
Um,
treasure?
Pirates booty. um, yeah, what are we talking about today? What
Um,
is the topic?
Consciousness in the workplace? I think that was
Sounds good.
up. Yeah.
That sounds good. Yeah,
Um,
I'll take that out of the pirate chest.
I used my psychic
The-
to hone into the pirate's chest. Um, yeah, let's I mean, there's just so many layers to consciousness in the workplace. I don't know where to begin. Do you have any thoughts where you want to start? I know, um,
I think it's, I mean, we were kind of talking about it before the start of the podcast in the sense of um, around observance and being able to kind of step back and observe yourself and others and how things are playing out for what they really are and being able to kind of see the reality or the matrix.
the Matrix and who the players are, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
how all of that is kind of similar everywhere. Especially with me now kind of changing roles. I'm like, yeah, I had that similar experience of seeing corporate and all that elsewhere and seeing all the players and how their lives were unfolding and whatnot, and then kind of coming to my new place, and then it's different. It's totally different. It's like way better, but then
Completely
also
different
kind of
environment. Yeah.
different environment, yeah, and different players and different processes and all that.
Yeah.
But seeing that it's kind of there's like similar themes there as well, and being able to kind of take that step back of like observing of like, oh, everybody's kind of doing their thing, but they're all kind of doing it in this
Yeah.
microcosm or world. Yeah.
Yeah. Very much so. I think when we look at the origins of how we were being, I guess, trained
Mm,
and to be factory workers, right? That
mhm.
was the origin of control and the word escapes me, but you know, the old patriarchal way of what am I trying to articulate here? But this is what it is.
Yeah.
This is, modern day factory workers. Not that there aren't factory workers already, but we've
Yeah.
it's evolved to a place where corporate language, corporate expectations, corporate
Mhm.
politics, corporate
Mm.
um, uh, the corporate playbook, the invisible corporate playbook, right? It's all rooted in so much of it is colonialism,
Yeah.
but also led by a systemic patriarchy, right? It's so uh, and that hierarchy and people having to
Ordain.
um yeah, or and just
Yeah.
they're clocking in at a certain time, they're being watched,
Yeah.
um not
Time
all
managed.
environments, right?
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
know we've been blessed to work in environments where we're not, somebody isn't watching, if you're sitting at your desk the whole time, which we were because we were
Yeah.
quite busy. um
Yeah.
um and so yeah, like I think when you're always working in a remote role, so to speak, I think we
Yeah.
should clarify that these are remote positions as
That's
well,
right.
right? That eh, I never felt like I've done anything wrong, because I'd always be working. But you hear of people who they're being watched by their managers for if the the badge on the Microsoft Teams or Zoom or
Yeah.
whatever would change, or they'd have software on their computers that
Yeah.
track their productivity based on how long they're like their screens are active. And that is yeah, it's the big brother watching you. And so
You're
even
trying to
though
keep
it's
control.
like, yeah, 2026, it's still that control,
Yeah.
which, right? And then there's that mandated return to work. There's the, Canadian federal government workers. I don't, I'm not sure if the BC,
BC
or if
did
it's
as
just,
well. Yeah.
it's federal, right?
BC did as well too.
I mean, why? Why?
Why?
Why?
Why are you
Right?
doing
Like
this to
it's,
us?
yeah, why are they doing that? Like,
Yeah.
and it's again, it's the control. And but
Shareholder value.
when you're a conscious spirit, like you're very aware energetically, like to that's an extreme of um like that's an assault on your nervous system,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
That's another way they've controlled us, right?
Yeah.
We've been
Conditioning.
desensitized, overstimulated, conditioned. It's been
Yeah.
conditioning. That's the word I was looking for, where,
Yeah.
we were essentially being trained, but we've been conditioned from a young age, how we
Yeah.
started, you know, I I I can say I was lucky and I was blessed. Maybe that was part of the problem, is that my elementary school was one of the first schools in, I'd say, Vancouver, growing up here, right?
Yeah.
From what I understand, we had open area classrooms.
Oh.
So I didn't start in like lined desks. We
Yeah.
sat on around round tables, and it was open air concept, and it was open room concept, and there was like you could hear the classroom on the other side of the closets and the room dividers, but it was all very colorful and lively, and it was a
Yeah.
very creative, enigmatic space to be in.
Mm.
And then the culture shock of going to high school, and we had to sit in these
Rose.
rows and these desks that, I went from being able to, push my chair back out
Yeah.
and do whatever, to like, like the standard
S-
high school desks, like
yeah.
the chairs attached to the desk. And, that was the conditioning. And a lot of us, a lot of us rebelled, right?
Yeah.
That in itself was very confining, right? Sitting
Yeah.
in that type of a, um,
Environment.
um,
Yeah.
environment and seat. And, um, but it was literally conditioning us and preparing us to be able to, right? Like that's how they did it.
Yeah.
They conditioned us from an early age to, you um you start school, and
Yeah.
then if it's kindergarten, grade one, whatever, you're finger painting and blah blah blah. And then it's recess, which is your first
Yeah.
break, right? Your first 15
Yeah.
minute break, right? We're taught at a young age to, that's
Ah.
our unconscious is understanding what that 15-minute break is about. And
Mm.
so
The
we
coffee
eat
break.
granola, we play outside for a bit, right? Like you
Yeah.
do as an adult. You go to the coffee room and you get a coffee, or
Yeah.
go to the coffee shop, or go take a bathroom break, or whatever, right? That's your
Yeah.
first coffee break, was recess when you were a kid.
Mm.
And then you go back into the classroom, and then you do some more work, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
for kids, playing before school is work for them. When they start school, school work is work.
Yeah.
It's the same as adults, right? And so then you get your lunch break, where you're like free for 45 minutes or an hour or whatever. We got an hour as kids for break, but
Yeah.
you know, but as an adult, some places you got your 30 minutes because you got your afternoon break,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
And
Lunch
then
break.
you'd have like a mid afternoon break,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
Or right,
Hmm.
it would be so we were being conditioned, or school ended early in the afternoon, right? Like we were
Yeah.
done by 3 o'clock,
Yeah. But which is
right?
also like the work hours
Yeah,
as well too.
yeah. Like your second break, or you get um like a 45-minute lunch break.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've been conditioned from a young age to be on that schedule, and we're not,
Yeah.
when you're a conscious being who really needs to be on their own schedule,
Hmm.
and you're productive when you're not,
Hmm.
somebody's cracking a whip or undermining you or
Yeah.
in your energetic field,
Yeah.
right? Um, Again, that's control, right? But getting back to being able to observe other people in that, if you were to look at how everybody behaves, we're
Hmm.
just glorified children
Hmm.
surviving in an environment that is unnatural for us.
Yeah. That is true.
And right, and if somebody would argue that, well, without, we need that discipline and what have you, but discipline can come in different forms, right?
Mm.
Discipline is essentially the hallmark of how we succeed at anything, right? Consistency, dedication to ourselves,
Hmm.
right? Being disciplined.
Hmm.
But I think that that discipline has been, again, these are my personal opinions,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's been so skewed,
Yeah.
right? Because of the um conditioning and
Yeah.
uh uh what the idea of discipline should look like.
Mm.
And that is that it needs to be,
Punishment.
yeah, it's a punishment versus something that is um enlightenment, attunement.
Mm.
It's a lot, it's enjoying the process of pushing ourselves over the threshold, right?
Mm. And I think the word in itself is, I think something that comes from the early Roman military days of, which I think equated to like survival and like hierarchy and training towards some type of like mastery. So they were instructed and trained, and knowledge was drilled into that kind of individual. Whereas, nowadays you don't really need to do that. So it's like it's a very military-esque type of
They needed to control the troops, right? They
yeah,
needed to, and that's a mind play right there, right? Like
yeah.
that's a brilliant observation to bring up because it's the amount of like new recruits that
Hmm.
end up collapsing, like having a mental health episode
Hmm.
from just being a
Boot camp.
cadet or what
Yeah,
have you, or boot
yeah,
camp is quite telling of the mental strain
yeah,
and how unnatural that really is
yeah.
for, and if we were to take that to another level, there's also like, as I'm going to bring up, you know, uh, clinical hypnotherapy and how there are two types of individuals,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And neither are right and neither are wrong, but they both need very distinct ways to have their subconscious mind spoken to.
Hmm.
And that's related to and this is like psychology, people who've studied psychology will know this. Um, it's in all the psychology books. This isn't woo woo. This is straight facts.
Yeah.
Um, how the child, who the maternal figure was that was dominant in um your who the dominant maternal figure was that would have disciplined you from the womb to age 7-ish,
Mm.
6-ish. Okay.
Hmm.
And then from 7 to 8 until you're about 14, you're shaped then by who the dominant paternal figure was in your life. In a lot of cases, it's your mom and your dad that take
Hmm.
on those roles.
Mhm.
But again, it's not, right,
Mhm.
necessarily everybody's lived experience to have what's considered a traditional um,
Nuclear family. Yeah.
exactly. Um, but when we look at how the two how different people can, so some are easily led, and
Yeah.
you can reach their, those are the individuals that if you go to like a hypnotist show for entertainment,
Yeah.
not hypnotherapy, like an actual hypnotist that, right? They'll have
Yeah.
people who are so it's not random that they pick people out of the crowd. They have people who scan the crowd
Ah.
to look for individuals who display certain characteristics that would be easily um, taken into
Trans.
hypnosis. Yeah. And they would be led very easily
Interesting. Which is what cults
versus,
also do.
yeah, 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 yeah. It's psychological warfare, really.
Yeah.
And that's why,
Favorite topic.
the, and that's a whole other, uh, subconscious advertising that we
Yeah.
aren't even aware of,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's hitting 50% of the population are
Yep. I
buying
know.
into it,
Yeah.
right? If not more, because the way that um, the pendulum is swung with how like how children at a young age are being disciplined, and that has evolved, has
Mm.
really,
Hmm.
changed how subconscious, um it's not just advertising, it's or how it not motivates you, but it literally, you
Changes
are,
how you respond to certain
yeah,
triggers and
yeah,
whatnot.
like you think that, for example, like, being Canadians, it's a democratic process. I'm going to be able to go and vote for who I think I want to vote for.
Yeah.
That decision was made for us a long time ago. It was fed into our brains long
Yeah.
before we decided who we were going to vote for.
Hmm. I guess you do have some flexibility in terms of choosing to attune to the media or kind of the information that is kind of going in, and you could train yourself actually to spot these things over the course of
But some of it is
many
so
many
subtle
years.
that you
That's also
couldn't.
true.
And
Yeah.
it's in everything that we consume,
Mm.
and not just, I'm talking about food, and you
Mm.
know it's in um
Are we getting conspiracy theory level? I love that.
yeah, yeah, like
Yeah.
we're, but the basis of it is
Yeah.
very much where, again, like consciousness in the workplace, you'll
Yeah.
see how certain individuals um get into a leadership role in the past, because this is changing now, right?
Yeah.
But in the past, they didn't lead, they weren't respected, they were feared, and that's how and how would you do that, right? Like
Mhm.
they were able to psychologically, and there's a level of psychopathy there, right?
Yeah.
Right,
There is. Yeah, absolutely.
right, you'd have to
Yeah.
um but also getting back to how individuals are succumb to uh being influenced
Yeah.
and damaged,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. It's all kind of ego driven, right? At the end of the day, it's like,
Yeah, it is ego, yeah. And especially
yeah,
in a corporate environment, if that's now the culture,
yeah,
and it's like, it's high school all over again, or the cool kids, and
yeah,
or it's that whole, it's the uh consumerism type of attitude, like
mm,
I have to keep up with the Joneses, and
mm,
that, being influenced to the latest, like everybody saw it coming, like everybody went
mm,
and not everybody, I mean, not all of us were into the Stanley Cups, but
Oh yeah.
that whole Stanley Cup phenomena, who's
Yeah,
spending all
yeah.
that money for a Stanley Cup, right? But people were like beating each other up before them in
Yeah.
stores, and and I'm not poo-pooing that, because I remember,
Yeah.
I'm aging myself here, but I remember, like, stories of, like, we had friends of the family that had gone to buy, like, Cabbage Patch Kids for their kids. I was too old for Cabbage Patch. I wasn't
Ah.
into them anyways, but like literally brawls breaking out with women, like
Ah.
fighting over, the last Cabbage Patch. Like they were so in demand, and
Yeah.
it's I know we've talked about, like, the whole autonomy factor. Like,
Mm.
there's a right.
Mhm.
Everybody wants what they can't have,
Yeah.
right? And so,
Mhm.
yeah, like, the Stanley Cup just overnight blew up, and now, like, I just saw recently come on my feed, like, people are like, "Oh, I guess the Stanley." I think it's funny that it's called the Stanley Cup when it's not a Stanley Cup. Well, it is a Stanley Cup, but not the Stanley Cup that we grew up with in
Yeah.
hockey. Um, but that it was, like, at Walmart for, like, 14.99, and like the sticker for the price was on the Stanley, like it was
Mm.
covering the actual word Stanley, and it was like
Mm.
it's even covering their logo, which is like, you know,
Yeah,
pshaw,
put
like,
the
it's, yeah,
face out there,
yeah, it'd gone from, like, what was it, like, $50 or whatever for that big tumbler to,
Jeez.
so, you know, I'm deviated a
Yeah.
lot, but it's not. It all comes
Still in
back
turn.
down to, right? It comes
Yeah.
back down to,
Consciousness.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's no different than the Serengeti, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I feel like there might be layers or levels, at least I like to hypothesize that you might have levels of certain consciousness in the workplace.
Yeah,
Whereas if you have more individuals who are more conscious, which we are getting to, there is
yeah,
a inflection point that is starting to happen there. But I think you still have industries and workplaces and organizations that are at that kind of low level of kind of ego-based, reactive kind of consciousness where, and we've all been through it, like where people are like they're trying to prove that they're right. There's that blame culture.
yeah,
People are politically maneuvering. It's all about status. That kind of goes into that kind of ego place. But
yeah.
then things start to shift as I think you start to get one or two individuals who are at a, let's say, higher consciousness. I think I don't like to
And
say that.
operating
Yeah,
really at at
operating.
at
Yeah.
that level. Yeah, yeah,
Where things become more like about the performance of your skill sets and the accountability and how are conflicts being managed. People are starting to become aware of trauma and how things are starting to shift, and you and I might talk a bit more civilly instead of you screaming across the hall or whatnot. But that's still like a very low level kind of, I think, level of maturity, whereas I think where some of the organizations um are starting to move towards, and this is just my observation of this, so it's not backed by any science or anything just yet.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe not a lot. Um, you have kind of more of that maturity level where leaders are starting to create psychological safety in their teams. This is the topic that I've been kind of going down the rabbit hole on a lot of bit, where you have leadership kind of admitting their mistakes, setting clear ownership, and taking ownership, and individuals having that ownership, and where your ego isn't the thing that's actually driving it. It's more about purpose. It's more about what they're doing for. Um, I don't want to say stakeholders because that's not really the word I was kind of looking for, but like the customer in that sense.
Or
Um,
partnerships, or who the,
Partnerships, yeah.
yeah,
And I think that's kind of where things are kind of sitting at. Whereas I think then there's another layer on top of that, which we haven't even, I think, reached yet. But I feel like over the years, and like you're seeing from a historical perspective, we did start from that industrial era
mm,
and like this
yeah,
is how it is. We're getting brainwashed. This
yeah.
is
And
conditioned.
I think there's been, like, those environments have been able to bloom
Mhm.
consciously, corporate environments that are not, and I'll just call it like in that are not, they're private
Mhm.
companies,
Mhm.
private domain, so to
Yeah.
speak, right? They're
Yeah.
not so rigid. We'll find like um any corporate environment that is rooted in the public sector
Mhm.
is probably going to be taking a little longer, or if they're displaying some of it,
Mhm.
there's going to be, I will say this from experience, right, that it
Yeah.
appears to be spiritual bypassing, right? Like
Yeah.
you say all the right tag words and the
Yeah.
taglines, and you appear to be, but you're really not, right? It's the
Your practice
whole
isn't
a
there. It
sheep
means.
in wolf's clothing. Did I say
Yeah.
that wrong? A wolf in
And
sheep's
sheep
clothing.
clothing. Yeah.
You know what I was trying to, you know
Yeah.
what I was trying to say. Um, so 100% agree with you. Yeah, it's out there, and it's not that it's not starting to grow and, like I
Mhm.
said, blossom.
Mhm.
But we're finding that perhaps some sectors,
Mhm.
work sectors are, right?
Industries, yeah, that have to be quite
Industries
caught
are
up.
taking, yeah, could, and it's a lot for them probably as well, because a lot of the old ways are really starting to be dismantled.
Mhm.
So the ego's going to want to hold on to what it knows and feel
Mhm.
safe. And if that means being a domineering, threatening,
Mhm.
fear-based, low vibrating dickhead, then they're going to hold on to that, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what their fallback has always been,
Yeah.
because they're losing their grip.
Control. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And they're not, and right, like so, um, whereas other environments where they have um implemented or have started to wake up or have been awake for some time will ride out this wave and evolve much with less.
Turbulence.
Yeah, that's perfect. Less turbulence for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or no turbulence.
Or
It'll
no,
just be,
yeah.
it's they're
It's evolving.
already,
Yeah.
they're evolving naturally, and
Yeah.
that's part of their culture. It is their
Yeah.
culture, right?
Yeah.
Um
And because they've attracted those types of individuals into the organization. It's
yeah.
that vibrational. I mean, now we're getting to some deep spiritual stuff there, but it's that vibrational alignment of, let's say, the leadership of the culture of what the company's DNA is, that's allowed those individuals to then be attracted and then be hired into that.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
it kind of goes back to our early thing of like that divine timing of like, it takes
Yeah.
some time. It's taken some
Yeah.
time over the
And
last
it's
few
also, I
years.
think, like it's an individual as much as the collective, but it's an individual journey
Mhm.
where um how much, or and how we value ourselves
Mhm.
will, right? And so, somebody can argue, well, I need to pay my bills. I'm in that. I get that. I'm in
Yeah.
it. We're in it. We all have to
Yeah.
pay our bills. We need to, um, but how is it that, Cindy gets to work in a conscious, safe work
Yeah.
environment and her bills are paid, but I have to, we're in choice. And so
Mhm.
that's another conversation in terms of how we create that, or
Yeah.
how we align with that, right? And not
Yeah.
to say that that would make for a mass exodus in like the public sector, but that would swing the pendulum pretty quick if
Yeah.
if that became the status quo, that you know
Yeah.
that's where that's where the energy is headed.
Mhm.
um so people start leaving and going into environments that are safe for them,
Yeah.
or the environment itself has to evolve, but
Mhm.
authentically, right?
Mhm. That is interesting, though. It's in the sense of how does it kind of evolve authentically? Like there are, like I like to put things practically and be like, how do we do this? I think, yeah. I mean, one of the things though that,
I
yeah,
think they're being
good.
forced to do it.
Yeah,
So
it's not authentic then,
it's not authentic, and so it's taking a
right?
lot longer.
Right.
And um and I- and I feel like even leadership will not be able to sustain
Mm,
the conscious, safe
yeah,
leaders can only do so much,
yeah,
and then they will move on as well
yeah,
until that environment changes, right?
yeah.
I mean, I guess that's a great segue also to, if you're in an unsafe environment
Mm,
and you're a conscious person,
mm,
human in your meat jacket, navigating your human experience in an unsafe environment, right?
yeah.
How does one, because I mean, when I went back into the corporate world, which was really surprising for me, and it made a lot of sense because I went back into healthcare. So I really felt at the time that I was there through, in certain environments, to hold space, to be, really hold space, and to be another healing.
Repetition,
I'm not a practitioner, but like, uh,
guiding post, killer.
yeah, yeah, maybe, right?
Yeah,
Because
a
my
barometer.
outlook of
Yeah,
that's changing. Yeah,
yeah,
like holding space from,
yeah.
like, helping keep it, environments grounded, or where, anyways, not returning back into the corporate environment. Um, and then it doesn't take long before you become enmeshed in that, right? Like
Becomes your
it's
identity.
it becomes a big part of it, right? I went from being a healer and having, you know, not that I didn't give up my practice right away. It
Mm,
took years, but I still haven't given up my practice. It was just I was evolving personally. And so I
mm,
was grateful to be back in the corporate environment because it paid my bills. But I really quickly saw how it took over my life
mm,
as well.
mm,
And I went from being in an environment, and different environments don't allow it, but starting out in an environment where I was safe to sit at my desk and meditate when I needed to, or take a 10-minute, or go into the break room and do meditation on my lunch break. And it
mm,
was in that environment
mm,
I was safe. It wasn't safe in other environments to do that. And with each different environment, um I was taking less and less personal mind breaks, or
mm,
meditation moments, or doing breathing exercises and whatnot. I was moving further and further away from my personal practice throughout my day.
mm.
Whereas in the beginning, I was really firm on, this is, um, these are my expectations of how it is, how I
Yeah.
conduct, right? Yeah, and it didn't take long. Like, I joined that corporate environment part-time. It was on my terms. They offered me the job, and I was like, I'm actually not looking for a full-time job, right? I still go to my office to see clients in the middle of the day, and then they offered a perfect environment for me, right? I worked half days for the first probably 6, 7 months. And then my workload became so busy. I was supporting multiple directors that I needed to take on more hours. Next thing you know, I was full time and going to the office to meet with my clients. And um yeah, the corporate environment starts to suck away and drain you. And that's,
Mhm. Or at least from my perspective, I think the thing that helped, well, I guess it was a series of things. I think the first thing was understanding kind of my own triggers. I had to become aware of my, like, have that self awareness. Because if I didn't have that self awareness, like you did, where you're like, oh, I'm being triggered, I'm gonna take 5 minutes to just like chill, relax, I'm gonna check my ego.
yeah,
Um, like, oh, why am I feeling this? What did I feel? What's that story that's being played out? I think that's kind of like that first level. I think what you're kind of saying there of when you started taking those breaks, it allowed you the chance to like
yeah,
stay in the environment, but at the same time not be as triggered or not be as so your part of your identity being so aligned to that.
yeah.
And then really, I think based on what you said there, you kind of evolve that to be more around that being your norm of like it self-regulating your nervous system of where you were able to kind of slow down more. You delayed your response to those triggers as a
Yeah.
result of that, and you kept um yeah you kept kind of that neutrality.
I maintained being whole.
Yeah.
I was able to maintain it until I wasn't. And I'm not a rookie, right? Like I was doing this
Mm-hmm.
after, having my healing practice at that point, probably what, 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm teaching other people how to maintain this. And I got sucked into the machine, right?
Yeah. But you still had awareness, which I think is
Absolutely,
key.
100%, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, and it's also your own personal journey. Like I was on a personal journey of, I
Totally.
needed to sort of put myself first for, I needed to not, I needed my bills to just be paid for. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden I was like, oh, hold on, like I'm enjoying my career. I've got two careers, right?
Yeah. Got
I
two
was
tracks
enjoying,
going here.
yeah. So, I mean, you can see how that happens, but if you're in an unsafe environment, that can wreak havoc. And so,
Yeah.
you know, um,
In certain instances, you can't really leave either, right? Some people, or whatever circumstances. I mean,
yeah,
we're lucky
I
we
mean,
could
you're
walk
starting to
away.
see I'm starting to see more, like I'll see it on my feed, people saying they'd had enough and they walked away and they've never looked back. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, uh, and, and it really is the moment that you honor yourself,
Yeah.
you join the path. And not that,
And have it
there's
on
anything
the
wrong
path.
with
Yeah.
being in the corporate environment. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that because if you're ambitious and that that's your jam, great. But
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who are in those environments. It's not their jam, but they feel like they have to. So they're accepted by the community at large, their community at large, or they've got a certain title and they're deemed as
Important.
respected in their circles or what have
Yeah.
you. And it's really,
Oh,
if they
ego
really
thing.
honored what they wanted to do, and if they were really like, their jam is to make like handcrafted uh rowboats,
Yeah.
like that, that's their hobby, but they're actually
Mm,
really good at it, and they're
mhm.
not honoring it because they don't think it's a sustainable business. When you know mm, uh, everything is, we are surrounded by abundance. There's more than enough clients and opportunities to earn a living doing various things. But again, the way we've been conditioned and the fear of it doesn't get better than, let's say,
This. Yeah.
and we're using a corporate environment
Yeah.
as an
Yeah.
example, but it could be
Yeah.
really any work
Yeah.
environment where it's, there's
Could be working in a
you're
coffee
not
shop.
self-employed.
Yeah. Well, you could be working in a coffee shop or,
Mhm.
in retail or whatever. Yeah.
In a bakery
A bakery.
or,
Yeah. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
or a plywood mill,
Yeah. An actual factory.
an actual factory. Yeah.
That's right. No, we talk about the corporate factory, but there's
Yeah,
actual factories
there's
still
an
out there.
actual factory,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
The Coca-Cola factory, right?
that's
Like
right.
it's there's
But I mean,
a
if also if that's your jam, then that's your jam. And that's what
yeah,
you like, then that's what you like. Yeah.
yeah, there's like way too much pressure to be like you're not successful if you don't have $1 million in your bank account. Like
Yeah.
personal success is very different for everybody else. Some
Yeah.
people are like pushing to have that. And then we're, speaking about something that's, we're not reinventing the wheel. People know this, and yet they're blind to it in their own personal path or their own lives, where they've been conditioned to think that, the harder they work or the more money they make or the bigger their house and the fancier their car and the more like they're keeping up with their friends and their
Joneses. Yeah.
yeah, that it's that success. And then you go to like a fishing village in, I don't know, Japan, and they're a literal village that, go out on boats that they build by hand themselves and
Mm.
fish, and they live off of the land or the sea, and they're
Mm.
happy, right? Like
Mm.
they might
Mm.
have Wi-Fi and
Yeah.
smartphones, I don't know, but they lead a much simpler life, and they're
Mhm.
perfectly content and happy, and they're not. I'm sure that there's a hierarchy and there's some kind of skewed socialism there that,
Yeah.
we're not aware of, but it's not as detrimental as what we experience. Um, I want to say the Western world, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's like
I know
around the
it's everywhere
world.
now.
Like it happens everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there was this I don't know if it was a study or what I saw. Um but I think there was a tribe, I want to say down in the Amazon, but might have to fact check me on that one. Where they had these individuals who had kind of lived off the land, they'd done their own things. And I think to a certain extent they were integrated into modern society, like they wore modern clothes and all that fun stuff. And I
And
think
that
at
fun
that point,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, all the fun stuff. And they were, I think, provided phones at that time with internet access. And I think what happened was over the course of a couple of, no, I want to say weeks, 2 months, they noticed a decline in productivity, but also a rise in like depression and all these other symptoms that the modern people feel. Um,
And we've
I
been
forgot.
desensitized to. Like we may
Yeah,
not even recognize that we're right.
yeah. But it was so interesting to see that discrepancy between what this tribe had. It was like a nice. You can kind of say it's a nice controlled, experiment where we have a snapshot of what they were like before, and then what happened after this invention and the introduction of this. But I mean, that's it's just another kind of aspect, another way for I want to say the machine to kind of control us in that sense.
Yeah.
Um, Kind of outside of that work hour or outside of that kind of and keep us in that kind of consumerism um, mentality of like spend, spend, spend and keeping up
Yeah.
with the Joneses. Sorry, that's where I
Yeah.
was trying to get to with this
No, no, yeah.
whole story. Yeah.
I feel like somebody who's listening to this, maybe this could create an opportunity for self-reflection and thought. Like if and I know this from personal experience, and working with clients, and we've discussed this. Your body will start to speak to you if you haven't already been receiving the hits, and you're already feeling pulled. You feel a shift has happened and you can't quite put your finger on it. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying quit your job. I'm saying start to explore
Alternative.
what the alternative. Yeah.
Mhm.
What else do you need to do? Is it a spiritual awakening, or if it's not, is it another dark night of the soul? Because God knows we can never have enough of those. And or is it your soul saying, okay, snap out of it? Like I keep trying to, get your attention, I'm going to make
Mhm.
you sick now, or I'm going to,
Mhm.
do this. And are you going to pay attention now? Are you paying attention? Like I'm trying to get your attention and I've been doing it without subtly. It's been getting louder and louder and louder. Are you getting it? Right? And is this where, oh, is this where you want to be? Is this what you want to be doing? Are you on the right path? Because I don't think you are.
Mhm.
Your higher self already knows that, right?
Mhm. And I feel like it almost creates that environment shift for you where you start to feel more stressed or like, oh, why are they doing
The
that? Or it started
resistance.
the
Yeah, the
resistance. Yeah.
pushback of like
Yeah.
denial because you don't want to face it. And sometimes the more that you aren't in flow with it, not sometimes, every single time, I
Hmm.
would I would put all my money on that every single time. It's not sometimes. Every single time you resist it or you don't want to face it or you go against it, it will come back and thrash you harder
Hmm.
than a tsunami wave. Like you will get, yeah, beat up against the rocks
Yeah.
harder and faster. That wave will come in and take you out each time until you don't get it or you do get it. And, uh,
You make
at
a
which
change.
time,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, and it's
Uh,
uncomfortable. And that's the whole
yeah.
point of you want to level up. You want, uh, to be happy on your terms. You want to be happy and successful on your terms. And
Mhm.
you know what? If that success to you is being happy, but being happy on your own island and running around
Mhm.
barefoot on your sand, and
Mhm.
so be it. Then go
Mhm.
create it. And when I say go create it, it already exists. I'm going to get deep here, but that's the conversation. Go align with that reality that you're already experiencing, that parallel reality, the reality that you are already on that island running around barefoot, and you have a team of people that work for you that are, you know, that you
Or just
trust and
systems in
are
place. Yeah.
systems in place that fish for you and provide food for you and, you know, whatever. You
So,
employ people, right?
yeah.
Who are happy.
Yeah. Because you're happy and you've
Yeah,
embedded a conscious
yeah,
organization.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They only have to, they get paid, I don't know, perfect world, right? Like they work 3 hour shifts, 3 hours a day, but you have like four
Beautiful.
people that work for you, each come
Hmm.
in at a different time, but they
Hmm.
get paid for a full day. And so everybody's happy. So you don't have slaves working for you. They're not in a factory. They get to go co-create as well
Hmm.
and pay their bills or not, or do whatever
Hmm.
they want, right?
Hmm. But you've enabled that.
You've enabled that. Yeah.
Yeah.
On your island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you were authentic and you followed that authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all happy here. And we're all
Mhm.
free here.
We all have more than enough. We've got
And we
that
all have more
abundance.
than enough. Yeah.
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 Yeah. On that note.
Yeah. I think you read my mind. I was going to say, I think, this will probably come up in another topic at some point, but I guess we're
The
wrapping it
treasure
up.
chest.
Yeah. The part, the
The pirate
pirate's
chest.
booty, the
The pirate
pirate's
booty.
booty. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we're wrapping it up.
Call it a night or a
All
day
right.
or evening or whatever.
Whatever time you're watching this.
So,
Okay. Well, bye, Terry.
bye, Rana. Chat soon.
Chat soon.